Hello everyone, thanks for joining me back on StubbleMeetsSteel. I know it's been a minute since I did a video. I've just been super busy and had a lot going on in my personal life, and went on vacation before my work got a little bit busier. So anyways, here I am. And before I had gone on my mini hiatus there, Timless Razors had given me this slim plate to check out because I had used the 0.68 plate in one of my last videos. And I wanted to kind of compare. I was like, well, what's the difference, or what other base plates would you recommend to me that are still considered daily driver plates? They have their 0.95 and some of their other more aggressive options. And for my daily driver needs, I just wasn't sure if one of those would be befitting. And the rep Jeremiah at Timeless said that this slim plate is, one of his particular favorites for daily, shaving and for his daily or every other day needs. And I watched Heiko Shaves do a review on it, and he seemed to really like this slim plate. So the slim plate is a 0.5 gap, and it has a 0.05 positive exposure, and the slim or the 0.68 plate is 0.68 millimeter gap versus the 0.5, but it has neutral exposure versus a little bit positive on the slim. So for today's blades, I've just got the one handle here. I had given I had a Timless SB45, which is their aluminum razor, and I gave that away as the fun razor to Yuri that had passed away from Double Y Shaving YouTube channel. I gave that away as a fundraiser for him. So I just have this one to use. So I'm just going to be keeping it kind of caveman style and swapping the base plate back and forth, but I'll try to go ahead and speed things up, speed the process along. So I know this particular brand ruffles some people's feathers out there, but I had been looking for a coffee scented shave soap for a while, and I tried a couple. I don't like to bash really anybody, so I'm not going to name all the ones that I tried that I didn't particularly like, but I've tried like 2 or 3, maybe even 4 different coffee ones, and none of them really tickled my fancy. And this Hoffmans Affogato is fantastic. And if you don't know what Affogato is, they take espresso and then they either pour it over vanilla ice cream, or traditionally vanilla gelato is what they traditionally pour it over. And there's this great traditional pizzeria by us, this brick oven place, and they have an affogato, and they do it over the Italian gelato that they make there in house. Man, is it fantastic. And the scent on this, if you are a coffee lover at all, this one for me, this knocks it out of the park. This is the coffee scent that I was looking for. I'm not affiliated with him at all. I'm not scratching any backs or anything. And like I said, I know that this particular brand ruffles some feathers, but for me, this one was hard not to like. It really was. It was, like I said, it was the one that I was looking for. I've got it loaded up on a brush that I made. It's highly figured maple. Got my logo on the bottom there. Let's see, do I got it the right way? No. And then I've just got it in a cashmere knot that's in this particular handle. Let's go ahead and get going here. We'll hop into a face lather. Started off a little wet here, so we'll see if we can salvage this into a nice lather. With this cashmere knot, I'm pretty confident that I will. I usually like to start really pasty and work my way up. Just keep adding the moisture in. But I find with a really good splay brush, I can salvage it pretty easily. Sometimes I just forget on the smaller knotted brushes how much water they hold, and I don't shake off enough water. Hope everybody's been well. Been fighting with cars. We got our guest bathroom remodeled, and I helped the gentleman that did it because we wanted to use 2 foot by 4 foot tiles, porcelain tiles. And he said, yeah, I can do those big tiles, but I need a helper. And I said, I'll be your huckleberry. So I helped him kind of speed things along and babysit the project a little bit. And then it was either my car giving me grief or the wife's car giving me grief. Just been busy. Able to salvage this pretty nicely. Work it into this a little bit more. Happy with that. There's tons of water in that brush, so I don't feel a need to add any more water here. All right, so let's see here. I've got the 0.68 loaded up. Let's go with that first. Off the first few swipes there, super smooth and low blade feel. So it seems like Timless has a lot of mild daily driver options. They have, as I mentioned earlier, the aluminum model, the SB45. And then they also make the slant razor in aluminum, which is also a mild razor. They make this 0.68 that I'm using now. And then they also make this slim. They make a fancy bronze one as well. And that one is a 0.38 gap. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and speed things up here. All right, I'm back. Let's go ahead and start off on this side here with a slim plate. So again, to reiterate the specs, the slim plate has a slimmer head profile, obviously. Easier to get underneath the mustache or underneath the nose area for your mustache area. It has a 0.5 gap and a little bit positive, 0.05 positive exposure. And I'm feeling that just a tiny bit here over the 0.68. Maybe there's just the tiniest bit more blade feel, but very marginally so. Both plates feel very similar, to be quite honest with you. Go ahead and lather up the neck here, do against the grain. See how they do against the grain on my neck. It's just kind of a benchmark for me. I expect them both to be smooth and nice, but does maybe one have a little more efficiency than the other? That's the question. And of note, if anybody has real keen eyes, they might have noticed that the slim base plate is stainless steel, whereas the rest of the razor is titanium. Again, this is just what they happened to send me to try. As the saying goes, beggars can't be choosers. I wasn't about to request a stainless steel or a titanium one. So here we are. They also make the slim and an open comb plate. I'd really like to try that. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and switch base plates. All right, back to the 0.68. Excuse me. Very hard to differentiate the two again. I would say just maybe a tiny bit less blade feel on the 0.68 side versus the slim. Very smooth on the 0.68 side. Let me go ahead and swap base plates. Such a good smell on this soap. My kids and the wife go nuts for this one too. Okay, back to the slim side. All right, let's go in for our third final pass here against the green on the face. Let's see how these two different offerings by Timless measure up. It's kind of one of those battles of what do you like better? Do you want more or less blade feel? Do you prefer more or less blade gap? That's pretty much what the difference between these two are. If you like a little bit more blade feel, but still mild and daily driver, you'd probably like the slim a little bit better. But if you like less blade feel, then you'd probably like the 0.68. Let's finish up with the slim on this side here. All right, I'm gonna switch base plates here. Let me get rinsed up. Take a look at the shave. Pretty comparable, but there's more pickup on the slim side versus the 6/8 side. Let's see if I can get it with the 6/8, because I know I went over this area a few times with the slim and it just wasn't getting that area. All right, let me go ahead and get rinsed up, and I'll go over the details of these two different base plates and offerings by Timless Razors. All right, everyone, thanks for hanging around. Okay, well, what do I think about these two different options from Timless? Well, you know, it's interesting because they're very hard to tell apart, to be quite honest with you, for the most part. But there is just that tiny bit more blade feel with the, you know, with the slim over the 0.68. But it's very small amount. You know, again, as I've said before, if you were to blindfold me, I don't know if I'd be able to tell them apart. Except the 0.68 does seem to have a tiny bit more efficiency with its larger gap. You know, you're a 0.50 versus a 0.68, so almost 0.20 millimeter larger gap on the 0.68 offering. And I found that it had just a tiny bit more efficiency, even though it has less blade exposure. You know, in my experience, usually a little bit more blade exposure will get you a little bit more efficiency, but I guess because they back down that gap, maybe that's why. The geometry could also be a tiny bit different as far as how it torques the blade and whatnot as well. The slim plate does have a little bit slimmer profile. I'll show you here. The slim plate is not nearly as chunky and beefy as the 0.68. So if you're looking for a slimmer profile to get underneath the nose or do some edging stuff a little bit easier, you'd probably like the slim a little bit better than the 0.68. For me personally, even though that the 0.68, it does have a little bit more efficiency, it still didn't pick up some areas right here, and I was kind of over shaving, you know, just starting to irritate. If I was to keep going, and yeah, it'd leave me a little bit irritated. But I would know from experience, you know, I have razors that are a little more mild, and so those ones I just don't go crazy with. I know that I'm going to get close to BBS, and I try to just leave it at that, or maybe I'll pick up those difficult spots with a more efficient razor or something like that. So I guess I would personally have to pick the 0.68 because you know, it has a little bit less blade feel, but ironically, you know, that extra gap still offers a little more efficiency than the tiny bit more blade exposure of the slim plate. So I'd personally go for the 0.68 if I was to pick. But I appreciate them sending me the slim plate to try it out. If I'm not mistaken, I'll have to check and see if they make the 0.68 in the open comb or the slim in the open comb. I'll put that information up in the video here for you. I can't remember which one they make. Well, there's my take on it. And if you hadn't seen my other video, the last review, this razor with the 0.68 is actually Justin over at Just Shaves. So I'm going to send him the slim plate to try out and send him his razor back finally. So thanks for the loan, Justin. It's coming your way. So stay tuned, everybody. I've got a bunch of other videos I wanted to kind of do, and I had a fun video I'm going to make on a little more in-depth on how to clean your brass and copper razors. So take a look for that. That'll be coming soon. All right. Thank you and take care.